this is the part that I coded. This class fire, basically it inherits from the obstacle class, and this part is for it to send the information to the obstacle, whether if it's a fire type and where is its position. And then for this part, there should be a burning effect where it decreases the fuel, but it's not yet been implemented. And for the fuel class, these are its attributes, and this initializes the rate, the fuel bar, and the amount. And for this one, it collects the fuel, and when the fuel is collected, it will print out this fuel collected, but it's not yet been finished. And for this part, subfuel is the part where the fuel will be decreased. It will print out fuel decrease, and it will return to the fuel bar.
Alright, so this is the part that I code. So this is the game manager class. So here is the attributes. This is fuel, obstacle. And here, so this is the first constructor. And then this is the second constructor with the parameters. So it's the fuel and obstacle. And then we'll move on to the show game method. So here is the title, mobile bike vroom vroom. And so this is the set bike color to white. So in order to set the color to white, we need to have this clear device. And this is for setting up the background. Yeah. And this function is for uh, rendering. So this is the render file function. Set face style, solid fill flag. And this is the spawn fuel, spawn ops, and the endgame is not yet implemented. And later on, we will link it to the other file. Right. So this is the main file. So this is all the library that we use, that we include. And then here is the main function where we put all of the function to run the code.
So this is the obstacle class. This is used so to avoid errors if it's called twice. This is the attributes, type, and position. This is where the obstacle starts in the X and Y axis. And first we set the visible to false, and we set the speed to 7. This is the default constructor. This initializes the attributes. This returns the type. Get position returns the position, and this renders the obstacle. So at first it checks if it's not visible, then it spawns the obstacle and sets it to visible. And then when it's visible, the x-axis, the x value, is decreased, so it moves to the left. And then this is where you actually draw the obstacle, which is solid fill dark gray, which we will change to spike and fire and others later. For now, we just put it as a bar here. And then once it's off the screen, then it's no longer visible. Then for player, these are the attributes: alive, fuel level, jump, and speed. First, we create the object for obstacle because we want to check for collision afterwards. Here we set the initial values first. And then this is used to render the player, which right now we use an ellipse. Later we will replace it with an image. We make it red. And then this is this is for the collision itself. What it does basically, it checks for 80 pixels in the y-axis, which is 40 pixels on one side and 40 pixels on the other side. And then it also checks for the x-axis, which is 10 pixels on one side and 10 pixels on the other side, which is total 20 pixels. And it checks if a pixel is in that area is dark gray, which is the color of the obstacle. It will set this text color to red and will say hit, and it will delay, it will pause the game. This is for the jumping method. First, we set the x-axis to 50 and the y to 401 and the velocity to 0 and the gravity to 0.9. You can change this later. And then first, it's not jumping, so we set the false first, and then we loop over this. So we find if the space key is pressed, then it's jumping. It's jumping is set to true. Then the velocity of y is set to -10, and then it over time it adds up with gravity, and then the y value, the y-axis, is set to that velocity, and then once it's on the floor again, which is on this pixel, it's set back to 0, and its jumping is set back to false. So this is used to clear every frame and then also render it again. This is the floor. And this is the calling for the obstacle to render the obstacle and then render the player. And then this is just the delay for the whole frame. And then these are the methods. Return alive, get fuel. This just returns every attribute. This is for adding speed. And then this is for collide, which is going to be linked to the top one.
So next we have the spike class. So the spike class inherits from the obstacle. So basically, the spike will do exactly the same as the obstacle, like here. Where it moves, and when the player hits, it's gonna die. So like this, the type, where the type of this is spike, and position. This is the position of the spike. Alright. Next we have the UI, where we will put the buttons, and in this we have the timer and the fuel bar, which will be visible after this code is coded. And this is the timer where we set 0, and the fuel bar where it will start with full, which is 100. And this is where we will display AI, is where we know if the this timer and full bar is displayed. Okay, now let's run the game. So as you can see, this is the player and this is the obstacle. But also this game is also gonna have spike and fire, where the spike, it will act the same as the obstacle, where if it hits, the game will be over. But whereas the fire, the fuel of the player will decrease, and it will, if the fuel decrease, the game will end. So that's it from us. Thank you.